Welcome to an incomplete guide to personal growth. We invite you to take a breath and take a listen to our podcast that explores the wonder, humor, challenges, and sometimes those self-inflicted wounds on the journey of personal growth.
Our weekly podcast conversations include stories, resources, and tools that you can incorporate into your daily life. We're the mother-daughter duo of Sydney West
and Kelly Arundel. Hey, Sid.
Hi, Mom.
What a day.
Oh, what a
How are
day. Good. I spent it took 2 hours the other night putting together a little toy climbing thing.
Oh, for Charles.
For Charles.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. Because he wants to climb everything. So I had to do something.
So you had to find something.
And then with rain and all this, and any days that we have to stay inside, can't keep him entertained.
Get that energy
but it's
out.
all, and of course, Allen wrenches.
Yes.
So I'm really sore. But yeah, it's like all wooden stuff. And I was thinking back to like when we were growing up, I'm like, you would have never put
plastic.
Yeah, plastic, right? And so I feel like that takes less time to put together, but everybody's now into the wood.
Yes.
You know?
Oh, I can remember putting kids' stuff together. Or even that is what I've noticed now. It's wrapped in so much plastic. It used to be so many containers and we had these twisty things that were really hard to do. But now they have these other things you just turn and it pops them loose in a lot of the toys. And it's like, oh my gosh.
I know, they finally moved on.
Yeah.
It is such a
Putting
pain.
stuff together. I know.
It never.
It doesn't.
It doesn't end.
You got many years of that.
Yes, and just.
Yeah, and then they go into the dorm or wherever, and you got more stuff to put. So it just doesn't end. Yeah, welcome to the
and I feel like
world of building.
For real. And I try not keep too many, but
there's no such thing.
And man, if you go downstairs,
you can try that. I can. I remember I was really thrilled when I got to move all the plastic out the kitchen to that, all that kind of stuff out of the house, and I thought,
yes.
And then when we moved here, I had a lady come and look at the house to help color and get ideas for decorating. She said, you can have adult things now. I was like, oh, yes.
Yes, I'm very much in that stage where I cannot.
You cannot.
I cannot. Oh, my gosh. But yes, that's what I spent. And literally my thumbs the next day were red.
That's funny.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah. Last week's was the small things.
Small things.
So... small things that I've been trying to do. I mean, I kind of mentioned last week, lighting a candle, doing those little things. I've also, just been trying to, in between taking care of Charles or just in between little things I'm doing, just, take an extra second to take one more extra breath.
Take a breath.
Then I think that's kind of little things that I've been
that's good.
Trying to put in. So,
yeah.
So if you guys have put in any little things this
Give us
past
ideas.
week, yes, let us know. Tell other people. We can all share. Definitely, because they matter. They add up.
And you learn from other people. I know I do.
Yeah.
Yep. So.
And then this week it's kind of tied in. This theme is quiet time. And it sounds like it could be really big, and it can be if you really want, but it can be a very little thing that ties in for sure. And I don't know, I wrote down quiet time is the biggest small thing you can do. That's what came to me.
Oh, I believe that.
So, do you want to, because that's just what I call it, because I know it's kind of what you call it, but can you explain?
Yeah. When I think of quiet time, I think of time set aside. And I'm a visual person, so if you're not, hang with me a minute. But I envision a space that I create. And for me, because I'm visual and I close my eyes, it's within me. I create a space within me. And you know how your junk drawer, I'm guessing everybody has one somewhere, where and eventually you can't find anything because it's your junk drawer. Everything's in there. And if I don't create space inside me, I get like that junk drawer. And then when something happens, I have no space to think. I have no space to pause before I react. I have nothing. And so that was really important to me. Yeah. It's a time set aside for me.
Yeah. So, and then there's a journey with this. So how did you start your quiet time?
I started, let me say, in college, I had this weird class. It was a church careers class where we had to reflect on stuff. So I was real fortunate. I began to learn to reflect, but, that went by the wayside. But when I had kids, I thought I was going to go bonkers because I had no time for me. And so I started, and Sydney, bless you, you're an early riser. You were then.
Yep.
And so I had to beat you up, and not beat you up, let me say that different. I had to get up before you in the morning to have my time. And so I thought I needed something. I didn't even know what it was, but I needed something for me. So I got up 15 minutes earlier, and I went and sat at the kitchen table. We had a small, there wasn't any space. That was my space when nobody else was up. And I remember sitting there for maybe 30 seconds and going, okay, can I read the paper yet? And back then, the physical paper. How long do I have to sit here in this silence? And I tried it for a couple mornings, but didn't know what to do. And finally, I found a book that was called A Cup of Life. It was a reflective type of book. So I started with that. And built into that was some reflection time.
Yeah.
And so that's how it started. And it began to feed me. And I have to say that I cannot, for me, quiet time is a spiritual thing. And I don't mean that I'm necessarily praying. It's not, it's spiritual and sacred because it's about my soul.
Yeah.
It's about feeding my being so that I can be
more present.
More present, more me, more have space for life.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, that happens.
So
definitely.
I can't say, it is.
Yeah.
So, and for different people, it's going to look different.
Right.
It may be that you do a devotional. It may be that you meditate and gong a bell and sit for 2 minutes or 5 minutes or whatever that is.
Yeah.
You may have a quote or a mantra that you sit with.
Yeah.
So it looks different for different people.
And so you started with that little bit of time. As you kept going, did you notice that you just naturally sat there longer, or was it more of like a concerted effort of like, I'm going to really try and grow?
A little bit of both.
Okay.
A little bit of both. I did try to sit there longer because once I kind of get a routine, and this is what I think about. One time it was the kitchen table. We moved to Tennessee and we had what was called a hearth room off the kitchen.
Yes.
And I literally sat on the floor most of the mornings and had quiet time there. Yep, that was because nobody's up. And then when we moved here, I had
your own room.
my own room.
Yeah.
And so, it always, I had a space, and I go to the same place and I open with the same words.
Yeah.
I close, and I have a routine. And it grew because I think I needed longer.
Yeah.
And it felt right. Now,
to
some
do it.
days,
Don't have the
please,
patience.
I do the grocery list, and I think, well, at least I sat quietly, So it's hard.
Yeah. So you mentioned like different types. And one thing I like to do is yoga. Though I am like, you're listening to someone tell you what to do. I don't know. I guess just quiet time. I mean, because I'm trying to quiet my mind, I guess, in a way, by being like, I'm not thinking about anything else. Like, I'm just focusing on breathing and listening to whatever pose I'm supposed to do next and stuff. Like, I guess that would kind of.
I think it is, and I'm not. There are some that are probably rigid, but for me, if it is feeding you, and your mind goes to a different place, and can relax, so to speak. Because our minds aren't meant to not have thoughts through them. They're just the way our brains are.
Yeah.
But there are ways to quiet and shift focus and things.
Right.
And if that does that for you, great. Yeah. I like to, get out in the mornings and jog or whatever I do. And no, I let the kids on the bus laugh. There's that lady again. Really slow. But my mind can become freer out there. So it's that.
Yeah.
It's a carved time for you.
Yeah.
And different people, if you're an extrovert, it may be more difficult, but you can still, there are ways to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I have ADD. Well, that's not an excuse. I've learned a lot about my brain.
Yeah. And it probably helps you focus better too by having a little bit of that practice.
And I know, and I don't know all the science, but I know that it changes your brain. Meditation does along the period. And what I learned was, you know, I started that quiet time. And when your dad and I first got married, oh my gosh, he'd hit the pillow and was asleep. And I'd be, what are you doing, you know, for an hour. And what I realized, it was probably 9 months to a year even into after I'd started this quiet time and some quieting of my mind. And I'd go to sleep. I'd hit the pillow and go to sleep too.
That's nice.
It was much easier for me to, my mind began to do it on its own to quiet. And so that has been a benefit.
Cool. Yeah, definitely.
That I didn't expect at that time from that.
Yeah. So I just want to, quiet time can count as like mantras, which we talked about in a previous episode too, making your own mantra. It can be devotional if you want that. It can be kind of just quiet movement. It can be anything where you just give yourself the space to not really worry or think about anything else. And I think we kind of talked outside of this, timers, like if you really want like
to free yourself from looking.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing when I think of timer is I think of phone. And to quiet your phone.
Yeah.
Do not disturb or put it where it's not easily reachable. Because even myself, I'll go, what's right there? Let me just
check.
You know, and so it helps me when I don't.
Yeah. But then like, I guess, I think like if you know, okay, I'm really going to be intentional about this. I'm going to set a timer for 1 minute because really you don't want to go and start 5 even. I think 5 minutes sometimes is too long with starting this. And then you just want to check the timer all the time. And you know you've set it for a minute and that's it. And then you just sit there and keep it away. And then the timer goes off and you've accomplished that for the day, you know?
It is. It doesn't, you know, I read about, you know, and you hear about the people that go on retreats for silence for a week or 3 days, whatever it is. That may be a good thing for some people.
Yeah.
But it's not for everybody. A minute. I used to grab time in the carpool lane.
Oh, yeah.
Because
picking us up,
Yes, because that way I don't know which kid's coming in the car, the nice one or the one that's had a bad day. And if I can quiet myself, that will help me.
Yeah.
You know, that definitely helps.
Yes. And then so with quiet time, I think you've seen a lot of success, at least from talking to you, like when you have this quiet time, you can deal with kind of hard things that happen in life a little bit better because you just have the emotional space. You have all this to kind of deal with it.
Yes.
And it can automatically be a time to settle yourself. And I feel like that's something people want to jump to when they're already in the midst of a crisis. So you speak to like how important it might be to like start sooner rather than later, maybe?
It was, yes. And I can remember, I thought, and I did, when y'all were younger, it was like, well, life is fairly smooth for us right now. You know, it was just really smooth and no big things. And I was wondered, I thought, well, I didn't do all this quiet time just for payoff later. But I thought, I wonder if this is going to help me. I don't know. You hear about. And sure enough, my mom got cancer and I needed that space within me. And it helped. It really did. And then when we went through struggles, you know, later on and in family times and different things, it was this place that I can hold. And it's still there. And I was like, oh, it worked. It was there. It's like I built a reserve up to go, you have this.
Yeah.
This is, and it's waiting for you. It's kind of like we live in San Antonio where you hear about the aquifer all the time.
All the aquifer levels.
Is it level? Is it high? Is it low?
Yes.
Don't water. Don't do. Yes. And it's kind of like that. And I know when I'm getting low.
Yeah, and you can feel it.
And it's like, okay, time to really concentrate more on self-care.
Right.
And having your building that space.
And I feel like then the more you do it, then the higher a priority it becomes because you realize, like how important it is. And I read Thich Nhat Hanh's book Fear.
Yes.
Recently. And man, he said something similar in the like way of like, oh, your practice is to help you later. Like you practice so then you have the tools you need for later. You know, it's like you're practicing for the future and like to help yourself later. Yeah.
And that's true. Because if you do it in the crisis, you don't have those tools. You need them for when.
You need them for when they actually happen. And I don't know. I feel like for me, this quiet time thing, like it's so cool. And I guess I do it, and I do movement kind of as mine. Yeah. I work on the mornings or I do yoga, but at the same time, I feel like the stillness is important. I feel like the stillness is important because I know that there's walking meditations on, but I feel like stillness is important. Sometimes. So what are like some inspiring things or like something encouraging or I mean, I guess there's the timer thing, sit there for a minute,
timer thing,
see what happens. But it's just like, and I feel like it's especially for millennials and Gen Z, like sitting still is so difficult. And if we're not actively doing something else, or being distracted.
And I tell you what, and I don't know if this is true for everybody, but one of the things for me is when there's stillness, when there's no outside stimulus coming in. I mean, there always is because I can see the trees right now. But when there's that, then it's just me.
Yeah, and that's scary.
And that is scary. Yeah, it can be, but it's important. And I think if you can do 1 minute.
Yeah.
And one thing that helps is, let's say you're starting out and you're going to sit.
Yeah.
1 minute. All you have to do is focus on your breath. We all breathe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very basic, but it's not. It feeds the rest of us. So, I mean, and what I do is simply inhale for 4.
Yeah.
And exhale for 4.
And just
do
count,
5, 2. It doesn't really matter. Yeah. Count. And then I'll do that a few, and then I'll pause at the top of the inhale.
And then I'll exhale. Breath. Yeah.
And it has a calming effect.
Yes.
And so that's one way to go. I'm going to do this for a minute. And then I'll find and maybe before then you might just all of a sudden sink into a natural rhythm.
Yeah.
That is comfortable to you.
Yeah.
And anytime that I'm trying to sit quietly and my mind goes to the grocery list or conversation I've had, I'll go back to my breath.
And it can be, I feel like, a gentle thing of like, oh, it's okay.
Oh, there's no beating yourself. It's just, that's the wonderful thing about meditation. It's not meant to judge. It's actually meant to befriend yourself.
Yeah.
Is to coming into this quiet and just befriending yourself and who you are.
That's cool.
Not beating up. And if my mind waters, well, it does. It kind of flows everywhere. I guess that's a pretty good analogy. Yes. It overflows the riverbanks. But I really... When it wanders, just to go, oh, I went over there.
Yeah.
And then I'll come back to my breath or my mantra or whatever, or if it's a piece of scripture, whatever it may be that you're using.
Yeah.
And just go, oh, it did that. Okay.
Yeah.
And gently,
And I feel like when people think about like meditation as quiet time, I feel like sometimes there can be the idea that, oh, and then I'll get this revelation. Because I feel like most of the time it's like you do that because you're like, okay, well, maybe I'll finally figure out what the heck I want. Or maybe I'll finally figure out, but I feel like I don't know. I feel like that doesn't happen.
It does.
That's not how it works.
There are some times when I will be, oh, wow, that was profound. That thought came to me, isn't that, and thankful for that.
Yeah.
I mean, it does. Yeah. But a lot of times I'll get up and go, well, I sat. And I settled, and that's good enough.
That's good, yeah.
And that's enough, because it's not out to change a mountain. It's not, it's to befriend you and just be and have this quiet and create this space.
Yeah, yeah.
Just to go, I want to breathe deeply today.
Right. And then maybe eventually that'll kind of help you eventually be able to listen to yourself better. But I think especially, honestly, what months probably it would take to kind of...
And it does, and that's it's like delayed gratification.
It's a long time, right? Yeah,
it does. But if I notice a small change, that's a change.
Yeah,
and that's enough. It's not. It's just little.
Yeah, little.
It is so little, but it builds.
Yeah,
it's.
Yeah, I like that idea that like when you do it, you build the reservoir. You mentioned the reservoir.
Yeah. And we don't do this probably anymore because we don't use cash, but we used to have penny jars or quarters. And my dad used to save them up.
Oh my god!
And
then go to
for
the cash
a year.
machine thing. Oh my god!
No,
what
cash machine?
Well,
nothing.
you go and you put it in, then you get. No?
That was before your dad was. We had to roll them and take them to the bank.
What?
And then he'd go on his honey. He went on a trip, honey trip every year. That was his money. So it looks like nothing until it adds up.
You had to roll them?
Roll those things, put them in there.
Oh
yes,
my
count
God.
them out. Oh my gosh.
Wow, you did all the work.
I did that, and then I got the penny rolls. That was my reward. But it added
It
up.
does. It does.
The bottom line is, it does add up.
I didn't know that. That's funny.
Yeah.
And that was enough for him, like, whatever expensive
or
stuff.
I'm sure he had some extra, but still, it was a good chunk.
That's funny. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so it is. It's
that's a good
building
visual.
up. It is. It's about building up.
Yeah.
And there's this. I saw this, and I think it's pretty cool. It says, and for me, this is down the road. Came for me. The author is unknown. Between stimulus and response, there's a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. And to me, my creating space, it is for me.
Yeah.
But the ripple effects are that when I'm coming to a situation, I have this space to go to. So I don't have to respond out of crisis or out of my rapid firing mouth. I have a space that allows me to breathe and know I'm okay. And one of the things, and I thought about this for this week, I don't know if we're ready for this yet, is what do I want to hold space for? What am I creating that space for?
Yeah.
Today it may be for peace, or that I can love broader than I did yesterday, or hope. Yeah. I need a place for hope today because this is going on.
No, I think that's good because then it kind of gives you a little bit for people that need it, a little bit of a goal. Like you are somebody, you don't need a goal. You
do need a goal.
No, you don't. Yeah. You can just sit there and just be. I'm somebody that's got to have.
Yeah. And so maybe, and that can be a mantra of, I'm sitting for this 1 minute. I'm breathing. And as I'm breathing in, I can feel I'm breathing in peace or hope.
Yeah.
And I'm going to exhale the stress.
Yeah.
I'm going to inhale and create a space.
Yeah.
And eventually, this is down the road, I can imagine me creating a space around me so that my peace bumps into somebody else and maybe wafts off. That I create peace where I go, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And I think that is something.
That's a little woo-woo.
No, it's not. Okay. It's good. But I think it's true. It's like, it really, but I think it shows how it can take the time because it starts so little inside.
It's a pea. Yeah, it's a little pea.
And then it can eventually get bigger. Yeah. And then we get to where you are and then we like really have that aura.
No, but you do. It creates a space, but it has to be replenished because mine gets down empty.
Yeah.
Too, everybody at some, and you go, whoa.
You take some time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that anonymous
holding space.
Holding space.
For what?
Yeah. For what? So that's, I think, like, try out starting some quiet time this week.
Yeah.
I think that's our challenge.
Yeah. Just set clock for a minute.
Like 1 minute.
Timer for a minute.
And trying to be consistent with it too. But that's really all you need.
If you can, the same time, same place.
Yeah, because you did in the morning. We talked about the morning, but you really can do it any time of day.
Oh, yeah. I just happen to be morning, but I know people that do it lunch or before they come home. And that's the other thing. You can, say you're going to work, take 30 seconds before you get out of your car and breathe.
Yeah.
On your way home.
Yeah.
Or before you leave from work, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Find that time. It just takes a moment to go, I'm resetting.
Yeah, definitely. Yes. So find that time. Let us know where you happen to find your quiet time when. Yeah. Share it with our community for sure. And also, so now that we've had this quiet time episode, one thing we're going to be doing and we'll hopefully send this out this following week, is Mom is going to do some meditations.
Oh, yeah.
That you can follow along with. They're not too long. I know some of them have been less than 10 minutes, 5, something like that.
Yeah, I try to keep them to 5 to 10 minutes. They're more, it's not, they're guided meditation.
Yeah, they're guided, but free in a minute.
Yeah.
And so the first one we're going to do is free. And then if you want to keep kind of getting those regularly, that's what part of our Patreon is. And so make sure to go to our Patreon page and join for just $2 a month. And that's a resource that you can have to help you along your own personal growth journey for sure.
Is our Patreon page part of our website?
Yes, you can get to it from our website.
I'm asking for me.
I know you're good. In our we have our little donate tab, and then it's right under there. And I may even put it more front and center later. But yes, you can get to it from our website as well. Yeah. And it's on our link tree on our Instagram. And so there are multiple ways to find it for sure.
And blogs will be coming out.
Yes, and we've got some blogs that I'm sure we've probably put out a couple by now. But if you haven't checked those out on the website, definitely do. We're trying to give you guys as much as we can. Help everybody along.
Stuff to choose from.
Yes. However you like to read or listen, whatever. But yeah, so make sure to follow us, Instagram, YouTube, check out our website, all of our pages, all of that stuff. It's for you. And we might be flying by the seat of our pants next week. We'll figure out what our topic is going to be. I'm sure I'll post it on Instagram. Sometimes we know ahead of time. Sometimes we don't.
I think we might have a guest coming up, hopefully.
Hopefully in another couple episodes for sure. And let us know if you have any topics or questions or anything. That'd be great.
Yes.
But yeah, so make sure to
take a breath and take a listen.
And we'll see you next Tuesday. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of An Incomplete Guide to Personal Growth. There are many ways you can stay connected. Follow us on Instagram at An Incomplete Guide Podcast, where you can sign up for our email list and get posts that delve deeper into our weekly topics. Make sure to subscribe to our podcast page wherever you listen to your podcasts. We would really appreciate a rating and sharing us with your family and friends.
We're so glad you chose to spend your time with us and hope there was a thought, a resource, or a laugh that you can take on your journey. We'll be here every Tuesday for you to take a breath and take a listen.